Susan Collins says she's bipartisan, but she's only bipartisan when it doesn't matter.
That is so good, it could be an entire ad just on repeat. Susan Collins is speedrunning her way to the bottom, which is impressive given how she moves. And honestly, I hope she doesn't change a thing, because recent polling shows this strategy is not working, especially considering how easy they're making it for Graham. I mean, why the hell would she think that saying this is a good idea?
This is the first re-election campaign that you've run since the Supreme Court overturned Roe versus Wade. And I was hoping you could talk to me a little bit about your vote to confirm Kavanaugh and whether you regret that.
I do not regret that vote.
Girl, read the room. No one, not even conservatives, are happy with Roe v. Wade being overturned. And that blood is directly on your hands. She's not going to be able to shake and shimmy her way out of this one, especially when Graham is hitting her with the best campaign ads we've seen since, well, Zoran.
Susan Collins says she's bipartisan, but she's only bipartisan when it doesn't matter. She's voted with Donald Trump 95% of the time. Collins has been the deciding vote to defund healthcare and hospitals, to put Brett Kavanaugh on the Supreme Court, to overturn Roe. She even sided with Trump giving billionaires and corporations a handout, paid for by cuts to Medicaid and SNAP. Susan Collins is only bipartisan when it doesn't matter. This election, we're not forgetting what does.
I'm Graham Platner, and I approve this message.
Everywhere we look, the right and centrist Dems are attacking Graham. But because he's a politician for the people, they can't figure out a viable strategy. It's absolutely hilarious watching this MAGA host present Graham's platform as if it's a bad thing. But even he can't make it sound scary.
He has to talk about his policies, the way he would affect people's lives, like rapidly phasing out fossil fuels, higher taxes on billionaires, ending what he calls the mass deportation machine, or what his website describes as our government is kidnapping people off the streets. He opposes federal support for private schools, for vouchers, and preaches universal government health care.
They are turning over every rock, stone, and leaf for an attack on Platner, and none of them are working. Some even sound so absurd coming from the right, like the newest scandal that they're trying to launch off the ground. That is that Graham is, and get this, a part of a rifle association. The horror.
With regard to the Socialist Rifle Association, this is a national group that has a chapter in Maine, and they've been tweeting out pictures of their rifle trainings, and they blur their faces like any normal organization would do with the pictures that they put out of their military trainings. But in the now infamous Reddit archive that has been linked to Graham Platner through the handle P-Hustle, he talks about how he's a rifle instructor, a range instructor with the Socialist Rifle Association, and we were able to find pictures where they didn't blur it quite well enough, and it's very distinctively Graham Platner there on the range teaching a far-left Antifa-type LGBTQ group how to take 75-yard shots at human-shaped targets with AR-15 type rifles.
Platner is breaking their brains so hard that he's managed to turn conservatives against the Second Amendment. Again, I have to say that I hope they keep this up, because they might end up selling the man on Republicans too, especially since he represents a leftist politics that doesn't fall for the same traps that social liberalism does. Our leftist America doesn't mean weak. It just means a different kind of strength.
I am not a pacifist, but I have essentially become anti-war. I believe that this country needs a fundamentally different kind of foreign policy moving forward, not just of the one the Trump administration has been enacting, but quite frankly, one that we've been doing since the end of the Second World War. Adventurism, using our military as a way to either protect people in places of political power or to enrich corporate structures here in the United States, that needs to come to an end. No one will ever trust us again unless we look entirely differently. If we continue to use militarism as the basis of our foreign policy, if we get a Democrat back in the White House, but we just continue doing what we've been doing for decades, why would anybody think we've changed our stripes? Why would anybody think that the way America looks at the world, looks at diplomacy, looks at international systems, looks at organizations like the UN or the ICC. If we don't change how we interact with this stuff, no one is going to think we've changed at all.
This is why Platner is the most hotly debated race this cycle in the entire nation, because there is something genuinely different about his socialist politics. It's not something that concerns itself with what the right thinks in order to move to the center and win elections. It concerns itself with the needs of the people, in order to prove to the people, left, right, or center, that we are the ones who can actually govern. Which is why we see these insane margins with independents. 52% over Susan Collins' 38%, and that's coming from Wick. If you don't know, Wick and Two-Way, who also presented this poll, are centrists, but that just means neoliberal conservatives. You know, the fiscally conservative but socially liberal crowd. And even their poll has Graham up, despite the fact that half of the questions in this poll once again rehash the same scandals over and over and over, conveniently leaving out the fact that Susan Collins is literally a homewrecker. But who cares, right? Because when it comes to the real issues, Graham is clearly winning, which is why all of these so-called centrists are terrified.
If I'm the Platner camp, what am I most hopeful about this poll? Is it the independent numbers, some of the gender split numbers, and the same with the Collins camp? What am I most hopeful about? Is it issue-based, what have you?
Maybe hopeful is not the right word. Well, I think the fact
what am
that
I most happy about right now in terms of what the data is telling us?
I think when you're looking at the segments, the fact that you're winning with 65 and older by 10 points or close to that, that is surprising to me. And I'm sure they feel they can hold on to that type of spread and and that demographic, they're probably going to win.
And those are the people that turn out, as we know.
Right. And to
More
Phil's
often.
point earlier, I think that, if you're Collins, you're thinking your messaging is going to start to win them back over, especially maybe if that's combined with continued exposure to the scandals or more exposure to the scandals. But, from a Collins standpoint, and I don't know if that messaging is going to penetrate with that huge gap on the 18 to 34. So the question is, how many of them are going to turn out? That's one of the key things. But yeah, but to answer your question more directly, I think that, if you see that everyone understands he has all these and they just don't care, and there is a lot of exposure to those issues, and they don't, 26% said that there's no difference in which one of those candidates is more morally upstanding, and they're all going to vote for him. Those are interesting numbers for the Platner campaign.
Like he said, Collins' only chance is somehow convincing people that her being around for 30 years somehow means that she's going to do better this time. Whereas Platner just has to keep up this incredibly surprising coalition of working-class Mainers who are sick of the status quo. If that sounds like you, no matter where you are, then subscribe to U.S. Democratic Socialists. I'm Tony Hinderman, and I'll catch you next time.